Hare Krishna. We continue reading from Nectar of Devotion. We are at the introduction um, by Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada first is invoking the auspiciousness. We read in the first paragraph, invoking auspiciousness. And then he's telling us how does Rupa Goswami begin his book by offering obeisances to his spiritual master, Sanatan Goswami. And he's saying that he's written the book for the pleasure and that he hopes Sanatan Goswami will find pleasure in reading this book. And this book will be pleasing to Sanatan Goswami. So, reading on, let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the great devotees and acharyas, holy teachers who are compared to sharks in the great ocean of nectar and who do not care for the various rivers of liberation. So next, Srila Prabhupada is saying, let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the great devotees and acharyas. So offering obeisances to all the devotees, all the pure devotees, all the acharyas, and the pure devotees, the great devotees, the acharyas, they are called as sharks swimming in this ocean of nectar. This bhakti is called the ocean of nectar. It's a deep, deep, unlimited ocean. And the pure devotees, the great acharyas, they're swimming like sharks in this ocean. Like deep down in the ocean, we will find the sharks. So the devotees, the pure devotees are so deep in this nectar of devotion. They are relishing this nectar of devotion. They do not care for the various rivers of liberation. Impersonalists are very fond of merging into the Supreme, like rivers that come down and merge into the ocean. The ocean can be compared to liberation and the rivers to all the different parts of liberation. So Prabhupada is giving us a very nice analogy to explain to us in simple words that, some may say that how the river enters into the ocean, then the river is no more. The river has become the ocean. There is no difference between the river and the ocean. Once the river enters the ocean, then they say, oh, there's no difference. So some people say, oh, once the soul is liberated, there's no difference between soul and God. The soul becomes God. Huh? So that is the impersonal theory. The impersonalists are dwelling in the river water, which eventually comes to mix with the ocean. Now, so the impersonalist theory is that after liberation, after the soul becomes pure, after the soul gives up its false ego, it's going to become God. So that is like saying the river is coming into the ocean and there is no more river there. There's only the ocean there. However, they have no information that inside the ocean, as within the river, there are innumerable aquatic living entities. The sharks who dwell in the ocean do not care for the rivers that are gliding down into it. So, people who say the river has become the ocean now, that the soul has become God now because the soul has given up the false ego. So the soul has become pure and now the soul has become God. But they don't have the complete information that inside the ocean, deep in the ocean, there are so many different aquatics. There are the sharks, the different sea creatures are there. There's sea creatures, there's river creatures too. There's fish even in the rivers. There's so many different living entities in the rivers. They are being pushed into the ocean too. Yeah. So, and the sharks, the pure devotees are being called the sharks. The sharks never go into the river. They're never in the rivers. They're always deep, swimming in this deep ocean. So Prabhupada is giving a nice analogy that the devotees eternally live in the ocean of devotional service. They do not care for the rivers. means the pure devotees. They do not care for any other process of liberation, impersonal liberation. They do not want to have this impersonal liberation. They are feeling so much bliss, so much happiness, living in this ocean of nectar of devotional service. In other words, those who are pure devotees always remain in the ocean of transcendental loving service to the Lord and have no business with the other processes, which are compared to the rivers that only gradually come to the ocean. So, this is the position of the pure devotees. The pure devotees are always engaged in pure devotional service. They do not care for any other process. They don't care for gyan, they don't care for yoga, ashtanga yoga, no meditation. No, what they want, completely engage in bhakti. Just now we heard Krishna is saying, become my devotee. Yesterday we heard Krishna is saying, by coming to this material world, which is temporary and full of miseries, you engage in loving devotion to me. We heard that yesterday, Krishna saying. Today Krishna is saying, become my devotee. So this is what the pure devotees do. They are completely engaged in devotional service to Krishna. They do not divert their attention to any other process. So the other process are compared to rivers that only gradually come to the ocean. Meaning to say, if somebody takes the path of impersonalism, Gyan or Ashtanga Yoga, they will take a long time to come to this ocean of devotion. Rather, take up devotion immediately. Instead of taking the indirect word, dive immediately into the ocean of nectar of devotion. No need to take the indirect. The indirect path will take longer. Srila Rupa Goswami prays to his spiritual master, Srila Sanatan Goswami, for the protection of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the ocean of the pure nectar of devotional service, from the argumentative logicians who unnecessarily meddle in the science of service to the Lord. So here Rupa Goswami, yes. So Rupa Goswami, he is praying to Sanatana Goswami to protect Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Protect Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu from the ordinary arguments of the logicians. Logicians like to argue. So Rupa Goswami is saying, he's pleading to Sanatana Goswami to protect this nectar of devotion so that the logicians can stay away. They don't need to come into it and they don't need to argue about it. He compares the arguments and logic to volcanic eruptions in the midst of the ocean. In the midst of the ocean, volcanic eruptions can do very little harm. And similarly, those who are against devotional service to the Lord and who put forward many philosophical theses about the ultimate transcendental realization cannot disturb this great ocean of devotional service. So, Prabhupada is pointing us out that the logicians, the arguments are being compared to the volcanic eruptions. Srila Rupa Goswami is saying that these are like volcanic eruptions, and in the middle of the ocean, even if a volcano erupts, there's no destruction there. It's all in the ocean. The ocean immediately absorbs everything. So going to say that in the ocean of devotion, in this nectar of ocean, these philosophical discussions, these philosophical arguments, thesis, they cannot disturb this ocean of devotional service. The ocean of devotional service is so vast, it's so unlimited, it's so blissful that the small volcanic eruptions does not affect the ocean at all. We have practical example. We see the volcanoes erupt in the ocean, but the ocean still stays. Nothing happens to the ocean. Still stays as it is. Devotional service is like that. People may put forward some illogical arguments or illogical discussions, but the ocean of devotion, because it's so sweet, so unlimited, so blissful, nothing happens. Nothing can disturb it. So we'll stop here for today. Are there any comments?
So it is so nice that even before that, they are offering, Manglacharan to their gurus, like how Srila Prabhupada also offered when he was even translating and he was when writing. And then even Rupa Goswami is offering to the baby, like to Sanatan Goswami. So this has been a parampara, like, offering obeisances and like
Yes.
to the gurus. Yeah. Like how much
Yes, thank you
powerful
for
it
pointing
is.
it out.
Because how
Yes.
powerful it is that everybody's doing this. So we are seeing that this is the parampara.
Yes, that's right. Yes, thank you for pointing it out, because then the spiritual master does not think, I am a spiritual master. No, he
Yeah.
always thinks, I am a servant of my spiritual master. The spiritual
Right.
master does not look at him that I am a spiritual master. He always looks and feels himself to be a humble servant of
Mm.
his spiritual master and of the previous acharyas.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I also have one request. Can we all please chant for a friend of mine? She had a premature baby in the 7th month in Taiwan. So the baby is in the incubator. She just delivered in the 7th month. So the baby is still in incubator. And so if each one of us can chant one time, but also pray individually at home anytime that the baby gets well, because we all know that how it is. Like we can just pray to Krishna that whatever is the best for the baby and the mother, please do that.
Yeah, we can
She's,
say, let's say
yeah,
one time,
please. Thank
Hare
you. Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Ram,
Ram Ram,
Ram Ram,
Hare Hare,
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so
Hare
much,
Krishna. Thank
everyone.
you.
Hare Krishna, Bobby.
Prabhupada ki jai. Yes.